Our last session today on world-class practices in sustainability. The focus today is on showcase of Thai capital market that achieve world-class ESG practices. We receive an honor from Chief Sustainability Officer, Thai Union Group, Mr. Adam Brennan, Chief Sustainability Officer, SCG Group, Mr. Chana Poomee, and Executive Vice President Sustainability, PTT Global Chemical, Dr. Chaya Chandavasu. Our Vice President Head of Sustainability Education, the Stock Exchange of Thailand, Ms. Pimpan Diskul Ayudhya will be our moderator for the session. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome all the panelists and the moderator for this session.
Swadika. Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the last panel of Thailand Focus 2023. Well, in this session, we have gathered here to delve into the world of sustainability and to explore into the world-class practices that are shaping the future of the global economy. Alongside the climate catastrophe, the global boiling situation that we are facing now, the capital market is also under intense pressure due to the fast and overwhelming transition towards sustainable business development and investment for multi-stakeholder. This year, Thai listed companies have once again outperformed their ASEAN peers when benchmarked against the global sustainability indices such as the DJSI, FTSE for Good, the MSCI ESG. And last year, 167 Thai listed companies were qualified for the Thailand Sustainability Investment List, or the THSI, which account for about 74% of total market capitalization, a 10% increase from the previous year. And this achievement can be attributed to our early and continued commitment to sustainable capital market development after the Tom Yam Goong crisis in 1997. That important lesson has taught the Thai private sector the importance of good governance, balancing growth, and building resilience. So we have been well prepared for quite some time, and so have been quickly working on all fronts to develop necessary infrastructure and foster the ecosystem for the ESG to sustain healthy growth for all. Well, today we are very fortunate to have prominent corporate sustainability leaders from 3 global companies with us. And over the next 60 minutes, they will be providing us with insights on what they have planned to deal with the challenges and the business strategies that they have to navigate through ESG risk and also materialize zero emission and inclusive growth. Well, let me first start with Mr. Adam Brennan, Chief Sustainability Officer, Thai Union Group, or TU. Well, Thai Union has been recognized for its sustainability efforts and commitment. So could you please share some specific initiatives or projects, especially under the newly launched Sea Change 2030 strategy that have been and will be instrumental in driving sustainable growth within the company?
Sure. So first of all, thank you for the invitation and to the SEC for putting on this event. So for Thai Union, sustainability is not new we launched our first Sea Change Sustainability strategy back in 2016. And over the last few years, we've been working on kind of two core areas that are most prominent for Thai Union. And those are really tackling biodiversity issues. Given that we are a seafood company, we are reliant on the health of the world's oceans. And so we have a duty, we have a responsibility, and we have an accountability to act to make sure that we protect those precious resources. And then the other area that we've been focusing on is really on the social and labor aspects of the seafood industry as well, making sure that those workers down the supply chain are protected. Thai Union don't own any fishing vessels, but that doesn't mean that we don't have an accountability and, again, a responsibility to protect those workers down the supply chain. And so we focused on these two core areas, and we're very proud of all the progress that we've made over the last years. We're widely regarded in the seafood sector as trying to lead the way in showing what a more responsible sector can look like. But we also acknowledge that the term leadership is not a stagnant definition. Only because we are leaders today in 2023 doesn't mean that we can continue as we are and still be leaders in 2030. And so a few weeks ago, we launched our new sustainability strategy called Sea Change 2030. And I'll just take you through some of the core components of that strategy so that you can understand what are the solutions that we will be implementing across our global portfolio, down our supply chain over the next few years. So first of all, when we launched, we were very keen to make sure that this is not just yet a new sustainability strategy that is put out there that doesn't have rigor behind it in terms of actual implementation. And so when we launched the strategy, we wanted to make sure that Thai Union was dedicating the necessary resources to actually implement and execute successfully. Okay, so with our new strategy, we will be dedicating and investing our entire net profit from 2022 towards our sustainability strategy towards 2030. That is $200 million. With our 2030 plan, we want to make sure that this is helping to reshape the seafood industry. Given our size, given our leverage across global supply chains, we believe that we can help deliver unified solutions for both people and for planet. But also, sustainability is not new for Thai Union, as I said in my introduction. We've been working on this since 2016, and to date, we have already invested over $100 million into our Sea Change program. So now we look at doubling this to $200 million between now and 2030. But we also have to look at some of the drivers in why we have embarked on this journey. And the first one is really around trying to truly be a leader. I mentioned the health of the world's oceans is absolutely critical, given that we are reliant on a natural resource. So we have a responsibility to act as an industry leader and to pave the way in terms of what good looks like. But also, regulations are increasing around the world. Our customers' expectations that we supply into are also increasing. And more of the work that we started in 2016 today is licensed to operate. We also, as I said, want to protect that long-term resource. And so we believe that as we look towards low-carbon economy, we look towards a circular economy, a lot of the initiatives that we are starting on now in the long term is a must for business success. But we also see a business opportunity here as well. Thai Union supply into some of the world's biggest retailers around the world. They are also setting their own sustainability commitments, and they are looking for partners in countries like Thailand, with suppliers like Thai Union, who can successfully execute and implement some of those commitments. And then lastly, there is also an opportunity there around operating efficiency as well. So a number of different drivers in terms of why we've embarked on this journey. Within the strategy, there are ultimately two thematic pillars, for people and for planet. And under these two pillars are really 5 future outcomes that we are targeting. The first is human and labor rights. We operate in the seafood industry. As I mentioned, we don't own any vessels. But the industry can be high risk without providing the necessary due diligence tools down the supply chain to make sure that those workers are protected. So this has been a core part of our strategy since 2016 and will remain a core focus as we move forwards. But we're also going to be focusing much more on health and wellness. Global populations are increasing. The opportunity to provide healthy, nutritious protein from the ocean is huge, but it has to be done responsibly. Okay, so we really want to be supporting health and wellness, providing positive nutrition. And then there are three other areas on the planet side. Climate change, I think, needs no introduction. Biodiversity now has emerged as its own global crisis beneath the shadows of kind of climate change as an urgent area that needs to be tackled, as well as circularity. So these are the 5 core areas that we'll be focusing on as we look towards 2030. But I don't want to take up too much time. I just want to focus on 3 core areas. The first is really around supporting a net zero economy by 2050. Thai Union have set both short-term and long-term targets that are aligned with the 1.5 degree pathway. So by 2030, we want to achieve a minus 42% reduction in scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions. And for Thai Union, 90% of our footprint is with scope 3. We also want to make sure that all of the wild-caught seafood that we're catching is done so responsibly and in line with the best scientific advice. And then we also want to be driving responsible aquaculture as well. A huge part of Thai Union's business is on shrimp. We're the largest importer of frozen shrimp into the United States. That comes from countries like Thailand, but also around the world. And we want to make sure that, again, we're protecting biodiversity and we're driving best practices in our aquaculture supply chain. There are 8 other commitments that round out the strategy. And with this, we are tackling all of the relevant SDGs that are important for Thai Union. I won't take you through all of those now, but hopefully that's a glimpse of the direction that we'll go in by 2030.
Well, you have a very ambitious target, and the operation is very extensive. No? So my next question would be how the Thai Union engage with its supply chain partners to ensure sustainable practices throughout the entire value chain? And are there any notable collaborations or partnerships that have been successful in promoting sustainability and driving positive change in the seafood industry as a whole?
Yeah, I think a really good question. I think this is a really ambitious strategy. And people often ask, well, you know, now that you set your sights on implementation, how are you going to go about doing this? And I think one of the things that we recognize is that it's really going to take an ecosystem of stakeholders to really ensure our successful delivery of some of these ambitious commitments. And there are a number of different stakeholders that we need to be engaging with. One area that we've been very successful with in the past is really collaborating with NGOs. Thai Union has worked with some of the biggest NGOs in this space to deliver real pragmatic results as we've gone through our sustainability transformation over the last 5 to 6 years. Today, we work with 2 of the biggest NGOs in this space. We work with the Nature Conservancy. And the program that we have with the Nature Conservancy is actually around installing electronic monitoring on board the vessels. Now, when we look at providing due diligence to vessels, when they leave the port, we have limited ability to understand what goes on board that vessel. So together with the Nature Conservancy, we're installing best-in-class technology so that we can understand what happens when that vessel is at port and to make sure that they're adhering to our requirements and regulations. Another area that we've been working on is with fish stocks and really trying to protect endangered, threatened, and protected species. So we have a partnership with the Sustainable Fisheries Partnership, who are based in the US, but they're a global NGO who are advising Thai Union on what we can do to mitigate the risk of catching what we call non-targeted species. And if we do catch those species, how can we try and release those species unharmed? So for us, the NGOs have a critical role to play because we don't have all the knowledge, and we certainly don't always have that knowledge on the ground. So making sure that we have partnerships with NGOs like the ones I just mentioned is critical for us. But another area is on the academic side. The industry has huge research needs right? And the ability to tap into the academic universe is extremely important for the private sector. We're a part of an organization called CBOS, which is the 9 largest seafood companies in the world. And through this partnership, we work with universities around the world to connect scientific briefs and translate that into action that private sector companies like Thai Union and others can begin to take. So there's a number of different stakeholders that need to be involved, and I think they've played a critical role in getting Thai Union to where we are today, and they will continue to play that critical role as we move forwards.
It's very interesting and encouraging to see how you engage all sectors, and it's actually, we probably really need to engage everyone to go through this transformation, sustainability transformation together. Well, thank you, Mr. Adam, for sharing insights into Thai Union's sustainability initiatives. Now let's turn our attention to Dr. Chaya, Executive Vice President, Sustainability, PTT Global Chemical, or PTTGC. Well, Dr. Chaya, PTTGC stands at the forefront of sustainable business practices. And given emerging ESG challenges, could you elaborate on how the company addresses these challenges to achieve sustainable practice in the industry?
Thank you. I think first of all, I'd like to thank SCT for the invitation. I think a lot of, we can discuss different sector today, right? But from GC point of view, we're coming from the manufacturing sector. And like you said, we have a lot challenging around the ESG issue. Let me go to the slide. I think like Adam mentioned, right, we are not new to sustainability. It's like a journey to us. And we on this journey for more than a decade, right? I think starting around 2012, I think we starting to become a member of DJSI. I think you be aware this is very good in terms of how to learn from the best practices, right? And at the beginning, I think not many companies are talking about ESG. Like a decade ago, it's just, kind of a good citizen practices, right? But now I think it's more important, it's a necessity to run the business. We starting 10 years ago on how to adopt the good practices and also how to have a transparent disclosure for our stakeholder. And then we learned that to sustain in terms of the business, right? We have to somehow integrate the ESG into the business. And later on, I think we not just look at the framework on ESG. I think it's a lot of business opportunity that we can explore around the ESG, right? So we starting a journey on the business transformation, how to create the product and solution or services to our customer. I think that's a journey we taken about 10 years ago. And I think later on, I think we have been discussed a lot on the climate agenda, and it's a lot of impact to our business, right? So we've seen that it's not just a single company that can have to commit on this. I think it's a collaboration. It's also part of the ecosystem that everybody have to help. So I think we work with a lot of stakeholder, right? From supplier, from customer, our business partner to achieve the target. I think like Thai Union, we setting and we pledge for net zero in 2050. I think for us it's very challenging because we are manufacturing and we using natural resources, and it's quite energy intensive for us to produce a product, right? But we believe that everything is possible, so we commit in terms of the target, and we make sure that we allocate resources to make sure the implementation is on whatever we have on plan. I think fortunately we have to do something right, because if you look at this year, I think we got the rank number 1, like Thai Union, in our sector, on chemical sector, 4 years in a row. So meaning we catch up with the regulation and also the ESG framework internationally, right? And if you look at the DJSI, basically is a broad base in terms of management practices on sustainability. But there will be other indexes that is important as well. For example, CDP, Carbon Disclosure Project. Technically, they focus a bit on climate and water, very detailed in terms of dimension, how you cope with the issue. And I think GC also doing well on CDP. I think the only one company in Thailand that ranked A on climate and also on water. So we believe that it's part of the solution that we can offer to our customer. I think thirdly, it's not just the company, right? Like you mentioned, I think supply chain is very important. And we believe that not just to working with the supplier, your customer, I think we have to exchange in terms of experience and also the know-how, how to go together in terms of achieving this target. And for GC, I think the most challenging thing would be around is the business environment is very dynamic. And it's a lot of regulation that has been pressures in terms of how we're gonna get to the target faster, right? But again, to adopt and try to implement those practices is quite. You have to look at your stakeholder view as well, right? For example, we look at external factor, internal factor, that what would be the impact to our business. And if you see in the past couple of years, business environment has been challenging, right? The rising energy costs and also the changing the landscape in supply and demands of our market. And we believe that it's just short-term hiccups, right? In the longer term, I think the company also, our supply chain have still to commit to net zero, aligned with 1.5 degree. But to be honest, I think some of the solution that we're discussing today, right, to cut down the emission is still immature, right? For example, people talking about how we're gonna do the CCS, carbon capture and storage, or even utilization. But if you look at the economic, it's quite not feasible for today's environment. But it depends on what is your company operating in which region, right? In some region in our business, it's okay, meaning it's a lot of policy support, right? For example, in the US, they have an IRA, an Inflation Reduction Act, with the incentive that provided by the government. So it depends on how you look at the opportunity, right? For CCS, we explore the opportunity in the US. I think it's quite feasible, but again, it's going to be applied to the business in the US. But our asset can be in Asia. But Asia, for example, Thailand, so far it's not been a lot of policy support or the so-called the country strategy, right, around how we're going to deal with the emission or how to, for example, CCS is possible to, because it's a big infrastructure investment, it's going to be complicated in terms of how you're going to finance those projects, right? And GC is, I mentioned it's dynamic issue because every year we have to understand our stakeholder. So materiality is very important, right? We go talking to our shareholder, investor, supplier, customer, or business partner, right? To understand what's going to be on top of their mind, right? What would be the very focused topic on sustainability? And we rank them in terms of what would be the impact to the business, right? I think it's similar process what people are doing. But once we got the input from our stakeholder, we can prioritize in terms of what should be focusing on for short term and long term, right? I think that's what we're doing. And the other thing is quite necessary is that we believe the governance process is important in the company, right? Especially sustainability has to be somehow top down in terms of policy and direction. I think fortunately our board of directors is very, I would say, put a lot of importance in this on this area, right? And the management have to work with the board in terms of how to implement that policy and in terms of execution. For example, we on the board level we have dedicated the sub board, right, to deal with the sustainability and also the climate issue, and the one that is associated with how we're gonna move forward is a risk management, because climate strategy you try to commit to 2050 is quite a far away, right? So it's a long journey, And somehow you have to basically look at the short-term, mid-term, long-term target. So the risk management in terms of both physical risk today and also transition risk into the future is very important. So somehow we have to have a systematic process how to deal with the risk management. And once the management, get the policy direction from the board, right? In terms of execution, I think sustainability is cover all the business function in the company, right? Not just a corporate function going to deal with the issue. I think you have to work with a bit different business unit, right? And somehow the people in the front line have to understand what would be the impact to their, day-to-day activity. So I think we have set up a committees on sustainability that, we can communicate and also put the best practices to the business people. And I think so far it's proven to be effective, meaning people know what they should do, right? And in their day-to-day function. I think the governance should be put in place, and basically to deliver in terms of result, we have to make sure that people, everyone in the organization understand the issue and what will be the impact to them. I think that's I have for the first question.
Thank you. I think it's very interesting that it's helpful to follow the, let's say, the international best practices, best practice guideline. It's about collaboration. It takes everyone, and also I think tone at the top is very important to get the whole organization on the same page and going to tackle the same goal. And you mentioned many times about the net zero target. So if you can go further or deep into detail about the key strategies being implemented to reduce the emission, both the shorter term goal in 2030, I think reduced by 20%, and the longer term goal in 2050. Thank you.
I think like other company, right? I think we align with the Paris Agreement on 1.5 degree. So I think that's why it's important to become a net zero company by 2050. But again, because of the short-term target have to be achieved, that's why we're setting 20% at 2030. But again, this would be how we're going to deal with the emission, right, coming out from our manufacturing unit. But again, we cannot compromise in terms of business growth. I think that's what shareholder investors are expecting. So we also have to make sure that the business grow according to plan, right? You're going to see going to be a paradox, meaning you have to grow the business, meaning more emission, but somehow we have to cut down in terms of the target. I think it's quite challenging, but if you look at our strategy on the right-hand side, to go to net zero target, we have three basically basket on how we're going to manage it. I think first one is efficiency driven, meaning how to improve the productivity, right? How to transition to the cleaner energy that used in our manufacturing. And more importantly, on the we so-called portfolio driven, meaning how to restructure the business, right? Moving toward the low carbon business, right? Hydrocarbon or fossil base going to be with us for a long time because everything that we use today, right, have to rely on hydrocarbon, right? The textile, the food, and the packaging and everything, construction material. So we cannot get away with hydrocarbon, but somehow we have to find a way to cut down the footprint of your products. I think that's the reason why we try to look at the portfolio of our business, right? How to moving toward the low carbon business. And I think because we are one of the large manufacturing, that so-called hard to abate sector, meaning we will not be able to cut down 100% from our operation. So somehow we have to rely on compensation and technology as well, right? So another thing that we need to work on is on the compensation. We will start with the nature-based solution like forestation, reforestation, and in the near future, once the technology become more mature, right, we will basically adopt, for example, CCS or CCU in the future. I think that's what we're setting the target. But you look at how we're gonna cut down the emission, right? Only 20% will coming from the so-called efficiency-driven. Look at the number. I think by 2050 we have to cut down about 1 million tons of greenhouse gases, right? And most challengingly, we have to basically adopt that 100% from renewable energy. It might not be possible today, but we believe in the future the cost of renewable will come down, right? So it would be basically feasible that we can transition to 100% renewable energy. And on the compensation is, you see the number is about 55% that have relied on the so-called compensation. Almost 6.5 million tons have to go through this kind of approach. So we will keep monitoring and investing on the technology. I think right now we believe that by 2030, 35, or even before 2040, the technology should be more mature. And in terms of economics, it might be able to implement in terms of for example, CCS. On the last one, I think we started a few years ago on business restructuring. So we target about 3.3 or 3.5 million tons, right, coming from this business restructuring. So we're moving to low carbon economy. A few years ago, we invested in a lot of business in bio-based, right, biofuel and biochemicals, and also biomaterial, for example, bioplastic. And we look at how to reuse the resources, right? So we invested in a lot of recycling. I think only the plant in Asia, in Thailand, are already commissioning by the end of last year, and it's going to be the largest recycling plant in the region. I think the reason I mentioned, because we see this as an opportunity. It's not just a risk that business has to deal with, but it could be the growth platform for the company, right? So you can changing your resources, for example, for more green feedstock, for example, raw material, right, for bio business. For recycling, you can cut down the cost by using the reused resources. And another one that what we're doing, we investing more in so-called performance product, right? Because with the same product, you can cut down the footprint that you come with your products. For example, we have a product in coating portfolio that we can help the customer to prolong their, in terms of life cycle of their products, right? So overall, when you calculated the number, it's going to improve not just on our scope 1 or scope 2, but also at our customer level as well. So I think that's the direction going forward on how to transform the business. Thirdly, I think it's going to be some sort of instrument and tools that can help you to move forward, right? We're setting up the so-called climate instrument. For example, in the company, we have adopted so-called internal carbon pricing for the investment decision making. If you're going to invest in a new project, you have to make sure you include the cost of the carbon as well, right? And for the existing asset that emitted a lot of greenhouse gases, they have to transform. So the adopt of so-called the carbon fee that the business have to be taken care of, meaning that's to be part of their cost in terms of doing business. So it's going to accelerate, also incentivize the business to basically transform faster. And that would be the objective why we implement some sort of financial instrument in the company. But in the future, even though today there is no carbon tax or even the trading scheme in Thailand, but we expect to see that in the future. But why doing this in the company first? Company can, basically look at the business scenario that's going to be facing those kinds of regulation. I think that's all I have for the second question.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Chaya, for your valuable input. And now let's hear from Mr. Chana Poomee, Chief Sustainability Officer, SCG Group or SCC. Well, SCG has been recognized as leader in sustainability. So what are some of the key sustainability practices and initiatives that have contributed to that recognition, and how have they positively impacted the company's business performance?
Thank you นะครับ Actually what we talk about SCG is like 50,000 people not only in Thailand but also globally and also we talk about how we can engage our people internally and externally. Therefore, we have to simplify what we have to communicate with our stakeholder. This is what may have a slide, please. No slide. Okay, sorry. This is what I talk about. As we foresee that the challenge right now is not only a climate crisis, but also uncertainty. So we start to set the framework of the ESG 4+ to simplify and communicate among our stakeholders. Start with the net zero. This one will be, we have to make a solid roadmap in line with the NDC of Thailand. Secondly, go green is not only mean for the product itself. We have to consider on how we can improve the process to be more green. Third, this is also very important. We talk much on the reduce inequality. If you join the global event, most of the country also talk about how we can lift up the living quality of the poor people. Lastly, we cannot go alone. So we need some very long-term collaboration. This is what the SCG have the simplify for initiative and also plus with trust through transparency in our operation. Because this, if you can see that very important that how you can imagine from now on, maybe in next 5 years, the data integrity. I don't know how the Thailand can handle on this part because the certified body also very important. Therefore, we quite focus on the transparency to set the govern all the committee in from the top down to the bottom. This is the SCG roadmap that in line with NDC. In this, the roadmap also combine regionally in Vietnam, Indonesia, and also in Europe. And also, you can see that it's not split or separate in the chemical, cement, or packaging. We combine as a SCG roadmap to see how we can leverage each other to achieve the goal of this net zero roadmap. And also, we just also include the new expansion in the future to see which year will be the max, the highest emission of SCG. Our target will be 20% reduced from base year in 2020. That better than 40% of the NDC because the baseline different. The country baseline may be back about 10 or 15 years, but our baseline is in 2020. And also this one, the Go Green, what I'm just talk about, we improve or launch the new product, not only the cement, hybrid cement, but also green polymer and green packaging. And also behind this production, we also improve our process. If you can talk about IPPU, industrial process and product use of the NDC, that we have the target to reduce the emission of our process. This one, our target, 50,000 person in 2030. We want to help the valuable people lifting up their living quality, not only in the community nearby our operation, but also in some area that we can join hand with handicapped people in Lamphun. You will see the video clip later on that how we can launch all of the program with the local people. This one, we just do some collaboration externally with the Thai Cement Manufacturing Association and Interior Minister to launch the PPP Saraburi Sandbox Low Carbon City. This is very important because the COP28, the theme is the global stock take. That means you have to join public-private to do something significantly to impact on your NDC. This is SCG also joined with the TCMA and scale down the country to the Saraburi province. As we have many factories in that area. And we not only focus in the energy itself, we focus on the Lulu land use to see how we can leverage the land that beside the factory to make the new renewable energy, Napier, and also others. And this is also we want to test and learn how we can get the funding from outside Thailand. As you may know that 100 billion US dollar that developed country also have willing to support the good project to other country, especially developing country, that we still lack of the Vietnam and Indonesia to get this green fund to support the activity in Thailand. And also the government side, Interior Minister and also Natural Resource Minister also join hand with this project. This is what the later or when SCG disclosed our data, we got many later also recognize on what we have done in the past. And we just joined the science-based target initiative. But luckily before TU, we still join 2 degrees Celsius. Down very tough 1.5. And I think this is very important of how we can implement our ESG in SCG and also collaborate with outside.
The Saraburi, the area-based Saraburi sandbox is very interesting. If you can elaborate a little bit more on what the expected result that you looking for, and how would that contribute to the target? Oh, your company.
It's long story, but for example, I think everyone quite familiar with Saraburi. We have the irrigation system, the Lapi Pat Canal, that we can do energy transition by use the floating solar. So this is we can get a very cheap electricity, but the problem is the water itself. It belongs to different ministry. If we want to use the land, also we have to ask for permission from different ministry. So we set this project to test how we can ask the government amend law and regulation and get the fund from for example, European country. This is only one example. if you want to connect the floating solar to utilize in your factory, you have to ask permission from the PEA, that the under Interior Minister. But anyhow, you have to ask the permission from, I don't know how the abbreviation of KKP, that under the, or EGAT, that under the Energy Minister. So if we still have very easy project, but the obstacle, what we have to get the list of the problem or issue or concern, to join hand with the government side and see how we can make the new legislation of the law and regulation. I maybe add a bit the country, the energy transition plan is very good. Every detail, if you read, it can achieve really easy if you have the supporting law and regulation the right way. This is the example of the Salabri sandbox. But we have many, because of, if you see at the NDC, one is energy transition, energy, second is IPPU, third is maybe waste and agriculture and Lulu. So we want to test many of the projects. If we can achieve only 10%, that we can expand to others. The 90% is nearly achieved, is not failed. We have a list and also suggest to the government to amend the law and regulation.
I see, I guess, going in this journey to sustainability transformation, we probably need, to think out of the box on new ways of doing things and moving things forward. And so this some kind of initiative or sandbox would lead to some policy recommendation to change the way we do things, I guess. Another question, SCG Group operates in various industries. So how does the company integrate sustainability into its diverse business sectors? And are there any, you give some specific example of sustainable solution and products that have developed, but if you have more, you can share with us.
In SCG, the big portion of scope 1 and 2 is cement business. Scope 3, it should be chemical. Packaging, maybe this is a very good business that very low emission, that can make or do some carbon sink, do the reforestation. Therefore, we have to find common initiative. In our case, energy is take part about 50%. So the energy transition should be the commodity of the initiative that we launch across the BU. Secondly, also we do what we call the NCS or positive activity, named the Lak Pupa Su Mahanati. This is what we do many activity together with the community and outside. And also we have the other common activity across the business unit by using the roadmap. So what I'm showing is the SCG roadmap. But others, each BU also they have the roadmap. So we not combine their emission, but we combine the activity and also see how we can close the gap. This is the example of the activity that every SCG employee also can join. This using the drone and develop the technology to measure the CO2. this the coastal activity in Trang. This the color leaf also TU Joy. Thank you for support this project. We use the cement print. This is quite natural material based and also very good result. Okay, that's all.
All right. Well, I have. Oh,
This is a product and solution. Also, we have the circularity solution. Maybe you can hear the name of the clean energy that do some the energy business. And also we have the green construction solution and smart living solution. And this is what I'm talking about, the Lak Pupa Mahanati, that we do some activity with the lower the carbon emission and do some positive impact. Thank you.
thank you. And I have my last question for all three of you, maybe 1 to 2 minutes each. Well, starting with Mr. Adam, what role do you see foreign institutional investors and fund manager playing in supporting and driving sustainable practices in Thai listed companies?
I think for Thai Union, we're happy to demonstrate what leadership looks like in the industry. We're happy to share best practice, what works, what doesn't work, what interventions are needed, where are they needed. And we're happy to take this leadership position, but if we really want to drive true, long-lasting, permanent, scalable, systemic change, we have to work on leveling the playing field. And we do that by engaging with a number of different stakeholders. One is the regulators, right? They have a critical role to play in making sure that we level up the industry. And what is best practice now becomes basically licensed to operate as we begin to move forward. So the legislatures have a critical role to play, but then all of the investors in the room, all of the investors online, you also have a crucial role to play in making sure that sustainability becomes the standard amongst the funds that you're investing in. And so today, I engage with a handful of different investors on matters relating to ESG. That number is growing every quarter, but it's still nowhere near the number of what the potential is. And so I'm very happy with the way things are progressing, but I believe that the investment community have a huge role to play in helping to level the playing field alongside the private sector, alongside our government partners as well, to really just make sure that these ambitions turn into reality.
Great, thank you. Dr. Chaya.
Like Adam said, right, I think investor and fund manager, they have a crucial role, right, in driving sustainability. I think what they could do is that they can basically influence the company, right, through their decision making. For example, they can allocate the capitals, right, to the company who have, prioritized sustainability or how they look at environmental responsibility, right. Secondly, I think they can basically engage with the company in terms of advocating on the good practices, right. For example, if a company have a improved ESG strategy or how they're taking care of environment, they can help to advocate, right. And for example, fund manager, they can also coming up with the financial products, right, for the company who can, widely adopt in terms of, or the ESG project or initiative or investment. So we can basically facilitate in terms of the company can have a smoother transition in terms of how they can financing those initiatives.
If we consider on FOGAP is mean supply side that we can improve our process, our production. Second, the demand side that willing to pay from the real customer or the market. Third, emission gap, that what we talk about the roadmap. The fourth one that very important is financial gap. this is the if we can get the support or even the investor can mobilize the capital to bring in the low carbon technology to close the gap of the what we talk about three first. That one thing that the investor can support. Second, right now, I think most of us are familiar with TCFD. So the raised up the ESG standard. This is very important, and TCFD can link not only for finance, the financial, but also link with the activity or project that we want to invest to lower down the low emission. This is two important point. I think is if we can get the strong support from the investor, it will help us to go faster.
Thank you. Now, I think it's the S2 in ISSB for the TCFD. But anyway, well, as we come to the end of this insightful panel discussion, it is evident that Thai listed companies are at the forefront of sustainable practices, driven by the commitment and efforts of leaders like our panelists today. We have heard about the remarkable initiatives and strategies implemented by Thai Union Group, PTT GC and SCG Group, showcasing their dedication to sustainability and their contribution towards a more resilient and inclusive future. The discussion has highlighted the substance over form approach taken by the listed companies, emphasizing the importance of long-term value creation and integration of sustainability into their core business strategies. We have witnessed how these companies are navigating the challenges and opportunity presented by ESG factors, embracing innovation, forging partnerships, fostering ecosystem and uplifting the whole platform to drive positive change. So, and importantly, this panel discussion has also demonstrated the collaborative spirit between Thai listed companies and the global investment community. It is through this collaboration that we can collectively address the pressing global challenges like, for example, the climate crisis, social inequality, and resource scarcities. As we conclude, I encourage all of us to continue support and engaging the Thai listed companies on their sustainability journey. Let us recognize the progress made and the immense potential for further growth and impact. Together, we can build more sustainable and prosperous future. And on behalf of the Stock Exchange of Thailand, I would like to extend our sincere gratitude to our esteemed panelists, Mr. Adam Brennan, Dr. Chaya, Chandavasu, Mr. Chana, Poomee, and thank you all of you for your kind attention and interest. Thank you.